The big interviews are coming thick and fast this season, you can't deny. Already, so far, Quinton Fortune. And now, a champion of England. An unlikely one, but nonetheless, somebody with a Premier League winner's medal. The interviews are coming thick and fast, but so are the matches, which is why you might hear some background noise as I record this intro. I'm standing outside the mighty Santiago Bernabeu, just ahead of commentating on Real Madrid against Getafe. Speaking of this club, this guest, Christian Fuchs of Leicester and Austria, that's his name, talks about the joy working with Real Madrid legend Raul at Schalke. Talks about the horrific experience of being bullied by his all-time hero Dietmar Kuhbauer when they worked together. Initially, having queued up to get his autograph, joined the same club, played together, and Kuhbauer went through him every day at training. A brutal lesson, but a theme that comes up again and again in the big interview. The modern game doesn't allow for treatment like that, but is it sometimes the making of a man? And finally, if you get in touch with Christian Fuchs on Instagram, it proves that there's a fair likelihood he'll not only get back to you, maybe challenge you to something, and stay friends with you for a long time. And while we're on the subject, thanks to my friend Liam Deasy and the Dorothy Goodman School for I'm an ambassador for helping him set up this smashing chat with a very interesting Austrian defender. Thanks, guys. Part one of Christian Fuchs. It's the big interview with me, Graham Hunter. Always look for us at patreon.com/Graham Hunter. Please support us, join us, keep us on the road, become a socio, but at all cost, enjoy part one of Christian Fuchs. The big interview has had many special experiences, but to go watch Austrian football legend Christian Fuchs conducting the crowd against Valencia, because his most important part of his pre-season friendly against Valencia was the love affair with the crowd that was there. But here we are in his manor in Leicester, talking about what made you so special. Christian, welcome to the big interview, and thank you for your time also.
Thank you for the nice words. I never had a better introduction than that. That's
you ain't heard nothing yet.
That's amazing.
Christian,
can't wait what's coming up next.
Christian, no, what's coming up next is a name of a person that almost nobody will have heard of outside Austrian or maybe Spanish football. I'd like to start with Dietmar Kuhbauer, and I want to know how it is that with his atrocious behaviour towards you, he helped make you the man you are.
That's very true. So you really did your researches, huh?
Well, I remember him for Real Sociedad as being the guy who got the most bookings in the shortest space of time ever.
He was a special character. He was really special.
Strong character.
I mean, honestly, when he was my age that I am now, and I was back then, I think it was 17, 18 or so when I came into the first team of Mattersburg. It's completely different to what the setup is at the moment between young and older players. So I was literally, for the 5 years that I played for Mattersburg, I was frightened of him. Mm-hmm. Very, very frightened because of the character he is. I mean, you described it the best way, that he got the most yellow cards, most red cards. I don't know what else. He had the biggest mouth of all. He simply tried to win every single game in the training, and he made you feel that you. Well, he looking back now, I think he just wanted to get the maximum out of me. But back then, I thought he just wants to humiliate me. That's how it felt. But again, it gave me that extra push. Looking back now again, that probably made me do the next step after the next step after the next step, which made me the player I am, which made me, at the very beginning of my career, probably built the foundation of everything that will follow then. I mean, after going through his school, let's call it like that, I went to Germany, on to Leicester, obviously, in the Premier League, and I still believe the way he shaped me back then. I mean, there were scenes, obviously. We played a game away against Ried. Nobody will know that. They are now in second league. And I had a impossible angle, like at the 6-yard box, and I decided to shoot instead of playing across where he was completely free. And basically he was shouting out to the manager then, why do we even need him? Why do we need him? And, you know, me being 18, 19 years old, it doesn't really feel good. If you can see that the captain of your team is talking to the manager and asking why we even need him. But this was only one of, say, 20, 30 of those.
But let me ask, doesn't it sting a little bit more because, you know, when you've been a kid, you've queued up to get his autograph, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
National team. Now, the national team didn't come play in Saltern, but where did they play? Neunkirchen? Neunkirchen. They come and
so your pronunciation is pretty good.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it is.
Safely danke.
See, at least I understand what you mean. It doesn't happen so often.
Compared to when I speak fast in Scottish. Okay, point taken. Touché. That's a DD experience for me you've just given. I'll grow. I'll improve my pronunciation and my language. But like, you know, if we do anything in this podcast series, we try to speak to the listeners and we share an experience with them. Now, everybody who listens to this, everybody who works on it has, if not idolised somebody in some sport has inspired them. There's a saying in Britain and Scotland, never meet your heroes, or your heroes have feet of clay. But at that stage, when you're a kid, long before you play together, you know, he's the guy whose signature you want, and at one stage he gives it to you? Or
yeah, well, I was queuing up for 20, 25, I don't even know how long, maybe it was 45 minutes, because, like you said, the Austrian national team playing the friendly against, I don't even know anymore who it was, it doesn't really matter, but I was standing there like, Didi, straight arm, with the pen in my hand, with a piece of paper in my hand, and he was ignoring us for like 30 minutes. Finally, I got my signature still in my parents' house, hanging on the wall, I believe, and then when you play with that person that you idolize, obviously when you're very young, when you're a teenager, it's a special honor. And again, you're probably more listening to him, and you're more quiet. You just shut up when he has something to say, because of the player he is playing. Obviously at Real Sociedad, I think that was, and then Wolfsburg. So
Rapid Vienna successfully too.
Yeah, of course. That was big times then.
Yeah.
That's what made everything else possible for him, I believe. So yeah, it was kind of a tough 5 years. But
we had an interview yesterday in this series, and often during these chats, footballers talk about the training ground behaviour in a different way. And very often the thing you've described there, or the things they tell us about, in the modern time, just sounds like bullying. But each of them who've come this far and we want to speak to, have drawn something other than bullying from it. Now, again, if my reading research is right, when he or other players in the team might give you a kick or knock you over, either testing you out or malice, or let's see if the little kid with a special left foot has got any bollocks, or what. You reacted to that properly.
Well, before I signed with Mattersburg back then, I was 16 when I had my first trial training with them. And obviously he was playing there, some other players, some other very experienced players with big names in Austria played there, and they were pretty rough. And again, one guy was Herfried Sabitzer. He was a tank of a striker, and he obviously knocked me over. Then Didi knocked me over, and 2 minutes later Didi was on the ground. But I just got up without. When they knocked me over, I got up. I was like, okay, that's what it is. I got to adjust to that. That was my attitude back then, or it still is it. And I got up, and that impressed the coach back then, that I just knocked him over the same way and made him feel some pain.
Do you know where that came
16
from?
years old, and he was like 30 years old.
Exactly. So did you already know, like for example, you tell a story about some people around you not liking success. So your teacher said to you when you were beginning to flourish as a footballer, and you were still at school.
Where do you get all these infos? That's insane.
I'm kind of like a Scottish superhero.
Oh, are you calling them?
I track down bad teachers all around the world.
Yeah, that's good.
I punish them.
Yeah, that's good.
Sometimes they never are seen again. But he does. He comes to you because everybody's had a bad experience at school. Like everybody, doesn't matter if it's listening to the podcast. But you're talented and still at school, and he comes and he says to you, "I'm going to destroy you."
Yeah,
right?
It was like that, yeah. Well, for me, first of all, it was important to finish my school because we all know that it can happen really fast. That one incident and your career is done. And I was back then, like I said, 18 years old, 17 years old. So just on the verge, and you never know what's going to happen or where it's going to develop to. So that was my main priority, to finish my school. But yeah, I then played most of the games, if not all the games, for Mattersburg in the highest Austrian league, and I simply believe it had something to do with jealousy. Mm-hmm. But you got to bear in mind that probably in Austria you're not getting paid a lot, so he probably believed that I'm making millions of euros back then, where he's probably has a better salary than I do, because being a teacher is I think a good, well-paid job, and knowing the numbers in Austria, it's not comparable. So with any other league, with any other big league like here in England. So I think it was pure jealousy that he came over to me, and literally I was sitting there like I'm sitting now. Mm-hmm. He was standing up here. I have this picture literally in front of me, and he was looking down at me and saying, "I destroy you." And my reaction, because it was not just that he said it that particular time for the first time. It was a process that built up, and my reaction back then was, maybe it was good, maybe it was not good, but that's simply how I am, that I'm very straight and direct with people, that I told him, listen, you're a joke to me, because of how he behaved in front of one of his students, which is
when you're an educator, when you're somebody who's supposed to, you're not just teaching, you're supposed to take responsibility for the growth of the kids.
You're shaping kids,
There you go.
You're shaping kids, and for me it was just a bad example of teaching, and for all the other schoolmates as well. I mean, that's something that's simply not acceptable in my eyes. And short after, I just exit school, just to re-enter and redo the same year again. And then I finished my school without problems, and because I had the support of the school and they knew what happened. So yeah, they supported me very well.
I don't want to come up with big conclusions. These are questions, not conclusions. Yeah. But so when you treat a bully of a teacher like you're a joke rather than feeling crushed, when the tank striker or DD are knocking you over, what does that owe to, you didn't grow up a farmer, but you've said that you milked cows. I did, yeah. So parental influence, something that's there inside you, what you did when you were a kid, because the country makes tough kids. Yeah. Why, by the time you're still...
We all know by our history.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's the truth. If you work on the land, hours are long, jobs are tough. Shoveling shit isn't everybody's number one choice of career, but it needs to be done on a farm. So when you're getting knocked around at Mattersburg for the first time, and you're like, what I'm going to do is get up and knock them over, did you already know you had that, and where does that kind of strength at that young age come from?
I only enjoyed playing football, and that was simply the way I did it. Where did it come from? I think it's just my natural.
It's natural.
I think it has something to do how you raise a child, that you don't take all the shit that people bring towards you, that you stand your own ground. But then again, that's how I grew up. For me as a kid, I didn't have a father that was a professional at some point. So everything I have, or all the success that I gained in my career, was all built up by honest work, by hard work, and yeah, I guess it was a good start to not take on any of the bullying, because, like you said, it is bullying, but I see it in a very positive way, because this is, I mean, for me, it helped me to shape my character, to stand my ground in football, which I believe is very important, and which I think nowadays there's some kind of a lack there, because you're not too much allowed to. Well, let's say you touch everybody with kind of silky gloves.
Yeah,
it's not there anymore. It's not there anymore.
Are we too soft with people, or is that what we're saying? You're not advocating bullying.
I think society changed a lot, and back then it was seen as normal. I mean, we're talking about 15 years back in time.
It's not a long time ago.
Yeah, but regulations change, laws change, and nowadays for the smallest thing you can get in trouble. So it's simply a different age, which I wouldn't say everything is bad, but I believe this particular part of getting the players being more tough, to have to stand their own ground, to fight for what they want, I think this gets lost a little bit these days.
So, for example, you always believed, looking back, that Kuhbauer did it with a motive that wasn't just bullying. You retrospectively, you believe that he saw something in you that he could push.
And he also told me. So that was for me the most interesting part. That when there was the Euros 2008 in Austria, I was still playing for Mattersburg, but we all knew that I will leave the club after the Euros to go into a bigger league, which was Bochum then. And literally after the last game, he came over to me saying, I knew you're going to make it. I knew you're going to make it. So that just, right this moment, I realized what he did over the last 5 years. In those 5 years, for me, it was a tough lesson. But then I was like, okay, I got you. I understood what he was aiming for.
So the guys who are this day being coached by Dietmar Kuhbauer, don't give up. If you're listening in, stick at it. He's got a good motive.
Exactly.
There's something that happened with him that we want to pick up in the rest of the interview. At that moment with the outstretched arm and the contact and the autograph, which is still hanging on the wall. You, irrespective of like the fact that you're a smart guy, a successful businessman, you're inventive, you're
really
funny,
loves
creative,
football, man.
all that, and you've got a really good left foot that separates everything else you do in a football pitch. You've got something that you deliberately connect with people, especially the fans. Now, when you go Bochum and then Mainz, there are things that are interesting in what you do there. But for example, Raul, where I live in Spain, I've lived there for a long time. Raul is a player who I know a little, I watched a lot of. He was crown prince of Real Madrid. It was as if he literally was royalty within the club and he should have probably gone immediately to a coaching job and be president, right? And he left the club through the back door. He wasn't particularly well treated. There was a battle of wills between him and the president. Whose club is this really? And you end up playing against him and then playing with him. And one of the iconic things that we see in studying what happened to him at Schalke is that not long before he says, I should have left earlier, this was what I needed, this changed me, and it did. There was a moment where, I think just before the winter break, where Schalke won a big game, Neuer's still in goals. The fan chiefs and the players make him come to behind the goal and join the fans, in fact, get over the fence and stand with a guy with a microphone and sing and chant and lead the chant. Now, just talk to us a little bit about that. One, what I'm talking about, because you know Raul, you played with him, you watched him, what did you learn about him? But also, do you understand what I'm talking about how odd that was to see this guy from Spanish football behind the goal singing with the fans at Schalke?
I can imagine how it feels when like you said, he has to talk to you before you talk to him, which is a big standing that he has in Spain. But it's simply a part of the culture in Germany that players, whenever you win a game, like usually one of the outstanding players of the game is going to the fans and starting the chants. So it was I think it was just a part of the routine, but he enjoyed it 100%. I mean, the way I got to know him, that he was very approachable, very much of a gentleman, very nice guy. I also believe that the players that had the most success in their career, they're very modest. They are happy with what they achieved. Not saying they are resting on that, because obviously you then adjust your goals. But he was a gentleman of a player, and I'm really honored that I had this joy to play with him. Did you see anything in training, the daily work where, all hiding is removed for football players from each other? Did you see things on a daily basis that made you understood what he'd achieved?
Or did it just look normal?
It looked normal. It looked normal. I mean, I understand when people like, wow, you train with Raul, but yeah, guys, that's very true. And I feel honored that I can play with him, but it's my job, I go there as he goes there to work my bollocks off to play for the next game. But what I appreciate about him, I mean, he didn't need to go to Schalke because he had achieved everything. But then when he was at Schalke, he was working hard every single time. It's a great mentality that he had, being obviously the player that he is, but still working as hard as he did, which was very impressive.
He always talked about himself being a self-made player. He always said, I don't have the greatest talent, and I have to work on my left foot, my right foot, my shielding, my heading.
But he had a massive talent. Seriously, in front of goal, he was lethal.
Did you find him? Was it easy to find his movement? What did you like about his movement in matches?
He was simply very smart, I think. So when he played for Schalke, he was not playing all the way up front. So
no,
he was
off
more
the line.
Yeah, exactly. Which made him be more of a connecting player for us. So we found him a lot of times in between the lines. He was just a connecting player between Jan Klaas Huntelaar, who was the striker back then, and midfield and defenders, and it was simply a joy to play with him. I mean, one of the scenes, it's nothing special, but we had like the ball. We were winning the game, obviously. We had the ball about halfway line around my position, left back, and we were just playing the ball back and forth without any pressure from the opponent, like 5, 6, 7 times, and the crowd was going, hey, hey, hey. So, but just it's something very simple, but just to have this with him makes me proud, for example, to play a couple of unnecessary passes with the Prince of Madrid, of Real Madrid, which is fun to think back.
I wish this was a visual medium right now, because boy, you're smiling.
Yeah, it is.
I know you smile a lot in life, but like the wrinkle lines along your eyes, it's a big smile.
That's age related. You should know what I'm talking about.
And
I didn't find my Nivea cream so far so I can get rid of those.
When you talked about the ole and the passes, the fan culture comes again there. I want to focus on, like in Germany, it still seems to be one of the things that's valuable and important that hasn't really come to this country at all. That whole concept about fans coming in cheaper. That you've got a responsibility to them, because you said it's just something. It's like a little ceremony, isn't it? At the end of the game, with everybody lined up and the guy with the megaphone.
Yeah. Also, I think I like what Jurgen Klopp did with Liverpool. That when they win a game, that they make the Lola in front of the fans behind the goal, which is what I was used for 7 years to do in Germany. Just normal.
But it's fun.
Yeah, of course.
Because of course to you, but like in this country, I see people slagging him off for it. Do you know what I mean? They do. And I think that's unbelievably stupid. The connection between players and the fans is vital.
Well, that's why. I'm trying to connect with the fans, obviously, a little bit more than probably any other of my teammates. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I made this experience and I'm getting joy out of it.
That's a great answer. That's the truth. So it's not about like self-promotion
but it doesn't have to be, I think it's so stereotyped to just, okay, I'm here now, let's do some autographs. Everybody can do that, you do this enough with appearance at the club, but for example, last year, and I'm still texting with the guy on Instagram, just yesterday because he broke his collarbone, and I wished him all the best in the recovery, but what I did with him is I had a post on Instagram that we had some football tennis at the training, and there were some cheeky answers coming back, like if you really have a good matchup, then yeah, the doors are open, just come over. And what this guy didn't expect is that I answered name a place and time. So 1 month later we are standing there and I'm just killing him. We played 2 sets of football tennis to 21 each set, and I think they made 1 point. And there's a punishment always when you do something with me, and I think their behinds still hurt. Yeah, they had a good red arse. But that's something that I like, that I enjoy. I mean, everybody can do some autographs or whatever. That I think that's, yeah, it's nice to connect as well, but you only have like 10 seconds which with the person which pass like this. But then you spend literally half an hour with them on the field. Have fun. I make fun myself because I decide what we're gonna do. I don't have to sit down and just write some signatures. I play football.
And there's a potential punishment as well.
Yeah, I was pretty sure that I'm not getting punished. I was pretty sure. That's why I picked the game.
It's a low risk bet. But you also famously, when somebody drew your attention to some girl who'd come to the stadium saying, "Give me your shirt," whatever, and you can't notice things like that because if you're paying attention to the game, there's too many things you can't notice. But you, again, it made a connection with you. You went like, "I'm going to have some fun."
Well, it was not only that. I mean, I saw it on Instagram after the game, literally, and I screenshot it. Said, "If anybody knows those people, let me know. Drop me a text so I can get in touch with them." And yeah, the connection was there then, and they got the shirt. I invited them to a game. We had a little meet and greet. It was very nice. But
you say that what I really like, you treat it as normal, but then you said like I get fun out of it. I get joy. Yeah. Like there's so many footballers you meet, and I'm not being critical of them. I mean to them. You're like speaking Egyptian to them. Because it doesn't mean anything to them.
But, it's your choice, I mean, I also understand the other side that you have so many commitments. I mean, the last weeks in the preseason have been really, really busy. The next 2 weeks leading to the first game against Manchester, they will be crazy busy. And at some point, you just want to relax, and have the time for yourself. I mean, I'm sitting here with you right now, making my son wait, but I'm enjoying it. I'm having fun here. So it's your own choice, I believe, and you should not judge players by not wanting to do it.
That's my point.
Because everybody is a different character.
It's not critical, but what I like is what I believe is that there are some people in your profession who are actually missing out on what could be enjoyment or joy. Because if you don't cross the divide and say, "Well, you're interesting," or "I'd like to know you a little bit," twice a year, 3 times a year, they won't feel what you feel.
But see, my personal attitude is also not that I'm the star and I'm the footballer and that's it. I don't see myself like that. I'm just another guy that can kick the ball maybe a little bit better than anybody else, but that doesn't make me a rocket scientist.
You're a bit interested in them? That you're actually a bit interested in them?
Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting.